here.
What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Proud to Present podcast. My name is Colton. We are episode number 23. We call it the LeBron James episode. All those Michael Jordan fans can get mad. Took a couple weeks off, kind of got refreshed for the fall, and we're back rolling. We got a full schedule for September, and this podcast is so life-giving, and thanks for hanging out with us. First of all, something new really quick. I want to try something out that I've never done before, even before I introduce Karen. We're going to do a local pick. I'm going to try to get some local businesses some love. There's no sponsorship. No one's giving me anything. I just genuinely want to kind of give my little jolt to anywhere in the valley that I can. There's a place called Gill's Grounds. It's a coffee shop on Power and Warner. If you're in the East Valley, hit that up. Gill's Grounds. Wonderful coffee, and I think most of us are addicts. So
I was just gonna say, I was like, "Where is this place? I gotta write this down later."
on the way out, you're gonna have to stop.
It's so bad.
But yeah, so check out Gill's Grounds. So this week on the podcast, we have the very, very talented Karen O'Brien. Karen O, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Hey.
Hey.
Karen, you're originally from the East Coast. A little
Yep.
background on you.
Yep.
You moved out west. Where did you come from originally?
Well, New York, New Jersey area.
Nice. Okay.
I say that because we lived in New Jersey, and then we moved here, and then when my mom moved back, she moved to New York. So that's like really where
Wow.
we've been. So I'm just like,
So how long did you go back and then come back here? Was that younger or was that more recently?
both.
Yeah. Okay.
Both. So we moved here originally, like way long ago, in '97.
Nice.
And then
Okay.
my mom moved back, and then I stayed here because I was like, well, I want to stay. I like it.
I like it here.
My dad's here. It's
the
nice.
sun's nice.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm just, I'm an indoors cat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I can't. I like it outside here because it's nice, but like in New York, it's like the elements are like against you.
Yeah, totally.
You know, the air like attacks you, so you're like, no.
Yeah, well, I saw an interview the other day that was talking about how like the West Coast makes you kind of soft because you know what I mean. Like
Oh my
days
gosh.
turn into weeks, turn into years, and you
Yeah.
never really deal with the weather. So the next
No,
thing you know, you're like,
seriously, you
I'm
do.
how old? Like,
Seriously,
what?
oh my gosh, I was just saying that. I was like, I can't tell if I'm aging rapidly or
Yeah.
like I've just been here too long or like it's too hot or something. Because I honestly, why I'm old now? What happened?
Right. Well,
Like,
and that was,
what?
it was an interesting perspective to hear. It's like, oh wow, I didn't think about it. That not having those elements to beat me up and like the slow drag of the winter. Like we have cabin fever in the summer. I mean, we're
Yeah, no, it's true.
finally coming out of that, thank God.
Well,
But
we don't have the same like excitement though in the wintertime. I will say, like, I love
True.
going back for Christmas, like to New Year's, even though it's like the worst time ever, like in terms of weather. It's like freezing.
right.
But it's honestly the excitement level is like so crazy because like even like the homeless people are psyched. Like it's so much. Like the
People
energy
just
is
alive.
just
Yeah.
the energy is just crazy. I always tell people, I'm like, if you've never gone to New York, then that's a great time
Right.
because you really get like like it truly is magical. Like
Well, and I feel like it's a great deterrent from the weather. You know what I mean? The holidays and the excitement and the cheer, if you will. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah.
It just kind of drags you out of. I can't unbury my car. I don't want to go
Oh
to
my
work.
gosh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it just
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stimulates that for
Totally.
you. So,
totally.
well,
But-
something we're really excited for in this episode. Karen's got a couple new episodes coming out, or a couple new songs coming out. We're gonna play clips from Drunken Games and Apart
Okay.
later on as we get going. But just something quick I wanted to shout out. I'm really excited about these. Really cool to get some never before heard clips. Really,
yeah, I was gonna
besides-
say these have actually never been debuted like at all anywhere, so I'm
That's
pretty
awesome.
excited.
So where have these been recorded at? Is it just you? Do you have a producer you're working with?
So I have a producer I work with, Charles Scott Dorman.
Nice.
He,
Okay. Yep.
he's amazing. He's worked with a ton of different people before in different genres. So he's just, I don't know. We met actually. He was playing keys for a fellow friend of a mutual friend who's a drummer of mine. We were playing at like a Gatsby themed party, and he was
Wow.
like the keyboard player, and we were doing all these like jazzy versions of like R&B tunes.
Yeah.
And then like after the first rehearsal, he like pulls me aside and he's like, "Hey, when you're ready to make your R&B album, like you hit me up." And at the time, I was like an indie folk type of.
Oh, really?
I was totally doing like this other kind of music. Like I didn't know who I was.
You're
I
like,
was
listen
really
here,
just-
listen here, man. That's
I was
not
like,
me.
wait, no, I'm singing like Lumineers and stuff. That's
Right.
not like.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, like you are an R&B singer, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
It's interesting when people find your sound before you do. I
Oh
mean,
my
that's an
gosh.
interesting.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like,
Totally.
oh, really? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's fun just as an artist when you release a song. I know Ben Gibbard does it a lot, where he'll release a song and he says like, that just wasn't it. You know what I mean? Like, and you don't want to fully pander to what people want, but at the same time, like, you know when people when you found your sound, you know what I
Right.
mean?
No,
And
completely.
so that's fascinating. So was that a hard transition to kind of go into the R&B thing? Did you fight it or did it kind of come naturally?
Well, it sort of happened on accident. It was like it was sort of a not happy thing that what happened is my band started working like as hired guns for like a lot of other people because we were all kind of just doing our own thing, you know?
Right.
And then everybody just got so busy and like I was booking so many
Right.
So then I was booking all these gigs and I was like, I don't have bandmates to like play these with, and like I just started and I didn't know like, oh, you can just go and like meet other musicians and
Right,
stuff. That
right,
wasn't
right.
like a thing to me, so I was like, what do I do?
I need my
So,
band.
yeah, I was like, ah.
Yeah.
So I taught myself piano, and then I started working with a couple other musicians that I went to some like open mics, and then I started talking to other friends that I had that were in the industry who were like, yeah, try these people, and it kind of it started sort of veering more towards that direction as I became more in charge of like the set list and what was going on. I was like, ooh, I want to cover these songs. And I started doing
Right.
my homework and being like, I'm listening to the radio. I'm like, this sounds like there's a lot more like pop and R&B like out there than I think there has been like in the last couple
Definitely.
years. I feel like it's been really coming up. So I was like, oh, okay, this seems like I like this. And
Right,
so I was
right.
like, let's just see these
can do
things.
these.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know. And so it kind of started in that direction. Then I started utilizing a looper in my live set because
Yes.
I'm a one-woman show, you know, and then
Definitely.
it started just rearranging songs like that and really going back and listening to like old school R&B was like really cool to just hear the different layers. Because
Definitely.
like
Oh, yeah.
I feel like music now is a little, you know, it's much more produced than it was, and
Right.
which is cool because there's advantage to technology, but also there's sort of, you know,
A
there's
lack of
something
feel.
missing. Yeah, I was like, there's something for me missing. Like, I don't know, I love like old Mary J. I just like
Yeah.
love.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
you know, I'll just sit there and I'll
well,
be like,
there was-
yes, girl.
there's something about the imperfection of music that's kind of been lost. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
The rawness.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times where, and I'm even a victim to it. You get an album from somebody, and the sound quality within the first 10 seconds is not good, and you're like, "This is garbage. Turn it off." You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like, why did you do that? Like,
Right.
what? Like you?
Because our expectation is like so jacked now of like what we
Right.
expect of people.
Totally.
Because now it's like everybody's a producer, everybody's a musician.
Totally.
It's like I always say, I'm like, music is so interesting because it's like the only job that you can take where you can actually like spend, I think, well, not the only, but it's like very easy to spend more money than you like would make,
right.
per
Definitely.
se.
Definitely.
you know, because
Well,
you end
because
up
you get
investing
in the
yourself.
rat race too. I feel like. I mean, I feel like you know what I mean. You got to work with that producer. You got to do that thing, and
Yep.
and you got to go here in order to be there. And I mean, I even realized that my last album, producing it myself, you know, I was very proud of myself getting done. But people were like, "Oh, you know what I mean? Like, what you did it yourself, huh?" Like. You know, like I didn't do it on like GarageBand and
Right.
my mom's house.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Like
Exactly.
we worked on
but
it.
see, there is a stigma there when you say stuff like that. Like all the time when people who don't know me like meet me and they'll be like, "Oh, this is our friend Karen. She's a musician." They'll be like, "I'll sing something," and I'm like,
"Oh yeah,
"Excuse
great,
me,
yeah."
like what is your job? You do
Yeah.
that for me very quickly now
Exactly,
in front of me."
Can you do my taxes
Oh,
right now,
yeah,
please?
exactly.
Can you?
Seriously,
Like, what are we
though.
talking about
Is it-
here?
Yeah, what's happening? Can you sell me this car?
You're a
What's
dancing
up?
monkey. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? That's
just
kind of
stop
how
it.
they, yeah, they like
exactly.
treat you like.
Or they expect you to love karaoke, and you're like, "No, I actually hate that. That is the worst."
That's very interesting.
Oh my God.
I have some friends and I love them so much, and they always want to take me to karaoke after my shows, and
Why?
they get
What
mad
is
at me that I
about?
won't sing, and I'm
Same,
like, you've been
same.
watching me sing for
Right.
like 2 hours,
Right, and then I'm just
Y'all
like, I
are
don't think it's
singing.
fun for anybody.
No,
Honestly, like
no.
after karaoke is for people to enjoy themselves and like do their thing, and it's just there's something like not fun about it after like
Well,
you
and
know.
plus, if you feel like always feel like at karaoke when someone does a really good job, though it's really cool to see them do a good job. It's like,
It's
well,
like,
this isn't fun for anybody else
Right,
now because
see,
I was
exactly.
just drunk with
no,
my friends.
and that's
you know?
me. I'm the fun ruiner. I can't do it. Like
yeah.
even when I was
You
a
wanna,
child.
like, hit it, you know
No,
what I mean?
seriously. Like even when I was a kid, and people would be like, "Oh, like she's just." I remember one time I went. Okay, so my Girl Scout troop in like 8th grade, we went to Catalina Island.
Okay.
Like out of nowhere, whatever. And we did karaoke, and it was my first time ever. And my
Mhm.
whole troop was like, "Sing Fallin'," you know, by Alicia Keys.
Yeah,
and I was
yeah.
all okay. So I sing it, and I kid you not, I'm 13 years old, and I get and I'm like shaking because I'm terrified. Right, I had worst stage fright ever, and I get off the stage or whatever, and I hear this girl tell her mom, she's like, "Oh, she was so good," and the mom was like, "Oh no, that wasn't her. That was a track. She was lip sync." I was like, "I'm a child.
You
Like,
think I'm
how
lip
dare you-
syncing at
how dare-
karaoke night?
How dare you?"
How dare you?
Yeah, I was just like, the disrespect.
Right. That's hilarious.
And then I was like, obviously karaoke is like, no, I made somebody angry doing this. So I should probably, that's not my thing. That's usually not what happens when I sing.
I'll just do my own shows.
Yeah,
my own
I was
cover
like,
shows.
I'll just play it myself. It's fine.
Right.
It's less offensive somehow.
Well, and with that, where did you get started? Where is your music background? Where do you, I mean, obviously that was your first time really singing, but clearly you had some pipes. Was it just naturally there?
I am I started in church.
Yep. Oh,
So I started singing in church choir. That was like my whole thing. My first solo performance ever. I was 2.
Wow.
Amazing Grace.
Yeah.
Song has like 6 verses.
Can you sing it for her right now?
How dare you?
How dare you? Everybody listen. Everybody quiet.
And but I started in church, and then I did a lot of choir type of stuff, and so I did choir, show choir, musical theater, pretty much anything I could get my hands on.
Nice.
I think I was 15 when I went to, so by then I'm in Arizona at this point. I went to this summer camp called NAU Summer Music Camp. I think they renamed it Curry Music Camp now, actually, which is funny because Chuck Curry is a amazing trumpet player who actually I know because he used to be our band teacher and then sometimes plays in my band. So that's full circle life for you.
We'll pretend like it's his program.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
I'm like, even if it isn't, we're gonna say that it is.
We're gonna sell a lot more tickets.
But I think it is though. I'm gonna call him after this and ask. Anyway. But so I was there, and then there was a jazz like choir, and I was like, let's see what this is, and I joined the jazz choir, and then immediately just fell in love. I just was like, oh my gosh, this is everything. Like, what? I'd never even heard. I was like, what are these notes? There's like 9ths and 7ths and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
But I was just like, whoa.
Right.
It just blew my whole mind and changed the way that I, like, even to this day, I'm pretty sure, like, the way that I arrange a lot of my songs, the way I write a lot of my songs, like, come from, like, those days when I was really, like, finding that, like, it's funny.
It's funny you say that because I feel like there are structures in my head for how I write songs. And there are, like, I don't know what it's like going back to the well. Like I know what's in the well, and I you know what I mean. But it's like things that I feel like I learned very early on.
It's it's like imprinted in your soul.
It's like your default couple arrangements. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And sometimes you have to break out of it, but in the end, like you're comfortable.
You have like a blueprint inside that you're already like subconsciously like doing, and then you're like, oh, I'm in this like comfy area.
Right? Yeah. Totally. See, that's my new thing lately. Is like, how can I break out of the comfort of the ones I know?
Totally.
Well, let's get to a first song. I'm really excited. Which one do you want to show first? Which one do you got?
Let's do a part first.
Let's do a part. All right.
That's the one that's gonna come out first. So
Y'all.
Let's do it like that.
New song. Hopefully by the end of the year. This is a part.
Heard your pride, the way that you broke my heart, the way that you haunt my dreams at night after you tore my world apart. That night after you tore my world That night after you tore my world up.
All right. Well, that was it. What did you think? That was the single.
Well, what did you think?
It was great. It was great. So tell us a little bit about the song. Tell us what it's about. I know we got a little clip, but
So I this is like one of those songs that it came to me chorus first.
yeah, okay.
I was just like sitting there and I was like I was just mad, honestly. I was just like angry about I was in an argument with this guy that I was dating at the time, and we got in this argument and he just kept like saying the most ridiculous things to me, and then I was all like, oh yeah, like did it hurt your pride?
Right.
Like the way it broke my heart. And I was like being so dramatic and dumb, but then I was like, oh, and I wrote it down, and then I sang it into my voice memos, and then I took it to my producer and I was like, what about this? But then with like a real like drop at the end. He was like, okay.
Hell yeah.
I was like, yeah, so let's be sad but trappy.
Right. Hell yeah. Oh, I like that.
Kind of my vibe.
So who are some of your big songwriting influences? Who kind of excites you? What kind of is there a certain couple artists that
I always find this like hard to answer because I find that like the artists that excite me don't necessarily like reflect in my own music, if that makes any sense.
I like that though. No, I like that.
I sort of feel like it's like I like to listen to all types of different music, and then a lot of the songwriters I like are actually like really soft-spoken, like singer-songwriters, like very like one of my first ever was Rachel Yamagata. I like love her. She's just got this intimate like way of just like whispering to you, and you're like, oh, yes. Please, those are
more.
all of my feelings. You know what I mean? And like I think for me, I've always identified like I've wanted so badly to be able to be so vulnerable, and right now I'm kind of like in a space where coming from covers to originals has been really scary for me. I think just starting music was scary, but then I was like, okay, we'll just go one step at a time. Definitely. And now kind of taking that safety shell of like, they like these songs for sure.
Right.
Like,
yeah, definitely.
You know, so now it's like, this is my own music, and how much of my story am I willing to tell at one time, kind of a thing.
Definitely.
You know?
Well, and it's interesting too, because I love when you find songwriters that hit you right in the heart. You know what I mean? That get you, and that not only get you, but make you want to write and express further, whether it's the pain you felt, whether it's the excitement you felt. Like that line catches you and you're like, I could write a song just off of that. So it's interesting to first expose yourself, I'm sure was, you know what I mean?
Well, and also it's
slow
like
trickle, you know what I mean? You don't want to dump it all out.
When you're used to like, so like when we do covers, I don't just like cover. So I call them K-overs.
Yeah.
You know, okay, your girl got to brand some stuff. But I rearrange all of my songs, you know, whether it be different vocal arrangements or different harmony, or like just literally completely rearranging, reimagining a song. So for me, going from taking like a full product and like doing a thing with it versus like starting with like, there's nothing here, and then being like, oh, maybe I'll just play these chords. And then what ends up happening is that I'm like, oh, like I sit there and I'm like, how many loop layers did I just make?
Right.
Like,
how deep are we right now?
Yeah. Like I was like, this is now like 7 minutes and this is wrong. Like, this is not okay.
Split this up. This is
not
3
what I
songs
meant
here.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'll like be looking at my lyrics and I'll be like, okay, I'm trying to say all the things right now. I'm like, this is maybe like 3 or 4 different, easily different, at least different
maybe
themes
chop
that I could
this
turn.
up and
I was like, simplify your thing, you know, like let people hear what you're saying and like maybe sing along at one point, because nobody can just speak in congruent sentences forever like I can. I have great breath support. I know that, so stop.
You and I could talk all day because I have the same situation. So
like this is, you know.
So what is Karen doing when she's not doing music?
What does that mean?
Is there a life outside of music? Do you have?
I have dogs.
Dogs? Okay, nice.
I have 2 dogs. They're like the love of my life. I spend a lot of time with them.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, pretty much dogs. I say dogs and music, and catching up with my friends when I can, and also I'm big on calling back home because my family doesn't live here, so it's nice when I get to catch up with them, and I don't get to go that often either, because it's like always, before I was doing music, I was in restaurant management full time, so I like never ever had any time off. Right. You know, so just holidays we're like, oh, like I'll see you never.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know those like. Kind of hopelessly feeling phone calls where it's like, all right, well, until next time.
Oh my gosh,
I think that's the correct phrase. You know what I mean? Like,
it's the worst. It's the worst.
Yeah, that's hard.
So,
well, let's hear the other song. Let's check it. Okay, so this one's called Drunken Games.
Yes.
You want to give us a little background first on this one?
Okay, so this one, it took us a while to get to this title first off, because we were like, oh, let's name it this and that, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
I'm the king of working titles. You got my attention.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't really know if this is a whole thing, but like it kind of started out because I sort of had this thought of, you know, it starts out the verses, you want to act single, so I start drinking doubles.
Yeah.
And really kind of just comes down to sort of like these dumb games that we all play with each other, whether or not we admit that we're doing it. And it's like, I don't know, as I'm older, so like, you know, I just turned 28. And so now I feel different about the way that I'm dating. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's like, I'm not like, this isn't fun.
Right,
I don't have time for this fun thing. Like, you know, so.
Well, and I realized too, once, as long as there's a game involved, like there's literally not going to, I mean.
Completely.
Game's always in.
Completely.
So, you know what I mean? Like there's no.
But it's interesting because for me also, like, so I bartended a lot when I was like making my transition, and it's like you always have like sort of the same types of stories, and like a lot of my songwriting I don't know if I ever mentioned this to you, but like when I very first began in like a couple years ago, I started as Lady KO. That was like my original moniker. And I ended up splitting off Lady KO from Karen O because Lady KO was doing a lot more of like, it was a different sound than I was doing, you know what I mean? And she was kind of doing different stuff, but a lot of her music, like it was like party music, and I'm not really like a party person, but I sort of got myself in this persona where I was like writing as if I was. And so then it was like cool to kind of be like, oh, I'm like this character. And like when we would play festivals and stuff, it'd be funny because I'd be like singing these songs and looking into the crowds of these people that I'm like singing about, basically. And I'm like, oh, this is you.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys. Oh, okay.
This one's for you, literally.
Yeah.
Like,
Here, take this beach ball.
Exactly.
You know, so like that's kind of how I feel a little sometimes with a lot of these things. Because for me, it's like I sort of feel like I'm kind of growing past a point, but it's fun to reflect on where like that aspect of being in a relationship and being back and forth and being like, oh, like maybe I'll just like post a picture and like see if he like texts me or whatever. Right. Dumb stuff, like text all your girlfriends. Like, he didn't text me. Whatever.
Did you see it? Do you think he's hot?
Guys, let's take this group photo then. I don't know. Somebody tag me looking like I'm having fun. Whatever.
That's funny. I wrote a song a few years called Break Free, and it was all about the idea of watching someone on social media post these smiley happy photos.
Okay.
To give the illusion that they were happy. But unfortunately, when you do that, if the person has any intelligence at all, they actually see through that even worse. Like,
completely.
Oh, she's really messed up. Like she's at, you know what I mean? She's at the country bar at 2:00 in the morning with her girls trying to like make me feel jealous. Like,
right, exactly.
Oh no.
Or you're like, what are all these pictures coming from? Like, what are you doing with this? You didn't do anything with your life before. Stop it. Like,
interesting. Yeah, some drive apparently.
I'm so sure.
That's funny. Well, y'all check out Drunken Games. All right, that was Drunken Games. We're gonna hit a bonus round. First of all, the songs like we talked about, hopefully out by the end of the year.
Yes.
We're working on some target dates now. Make sure for everything on Karen, go to Say Hello to Karen O, really on any social media platform, and then hellokareno.com.
Yep.
So make sure you go check those out. Hit the like button, hit the follow button, or whatever site you're on, and these songs will be coming soon. And as you've heard, they are incredible. They're mixed well, they're produced well, and I'm excited to be the first one to show them.
I'm just like so excited.
All right, so bonus round. Some fun questions, goofy questions.
Oh my gosh.
Try to get you out of your comfort zone a little bit here.
What is a comfort zone?
Right. And we're gonna get crazy. First question: what's your favorite dessert?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I really can't pick, but I'm like a very chocolatey person.
Yes,
so pretty much any time you chocolatey something,
yes,
you know, could go well. But really, I'm not. You know,
Someone brought me a box of chocolate chip cookies yesterday, and
Did
they
you
brought
eat
me
them
3
all?
boxes. Listen, they brought me 3 boxes.
I'm listening.
I did a fantasy football draft. Everybody brought cookies for some reason, so I'm literally gonna send you home with chocolate chip cookies. So,
Guys,
look at that. It's almost like I planned a guest gift.
I'm just like the easiest person to please with food. Honestly, I am.
Boom.
Anybody knows. They like show up with coffee or cookies or any type of food, and I'm thrilled. You know.
When you saw sangria in the fridge, I
was
thought you did a
excited.
somersault.
Oh my gosh, no, really. One time, my saxophone player came to help me load up for a gig, and he showed up with a boba tea, and I was like, just instantly.
I knew you cared about me.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's really nice.
Favorite venue you've played?
Oh my gosh. That's hard. I'm like I've played at a lot of venues, and also like I love all of them for like very different reasons.
Yeah.
But I will say I'll shout out the Queen Creek Olive Mill.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Because they are one of my oldest venues that I've been at, and they were really they're kind of the reason why I started playing solo more.
Really? They kind of gave you that confidence to.
Well, no, actually, it was just one summer they were like, "Hey, we only want solos," and I was like, "What?" And they were like, "You can't bring anyone anymore," and I was like, "Why?"
I gotta work on my piano.
Oh my gosh! And so then I just like started looping and started going crazy on it, and every single time I go there, there's always more people, and it's crazy because it's in Queen Creek and I live in Tempe.
Yep.
And most of my shows are, I mean, they're all over the place, but Queen Creek is like, out there.
Yep.
And to have, over the last couple of years, have like a pretty steady, I guess, following of people that come just to the Olive Mill there, which is amazing. And it's an all ages venue, which I super love.
Yes.
But like there's always people there who ask me for originals, which I think is amazing because I'm
they
like,
care, they're listening. You know
right.
what I mean?
I'm like, oh, these people know that like I do more than this.
Right. Yeah.
And
totally.
that's just the goal. Like,
well, and I think too that's the cool thing is when you hear someone do a really good cover, I feel like it's if you're smart, the first thing you're gonna do is be like, all right, so what are you doing of yours? What's behind there? You know
right.
What I mean? So
no, exactly.
That's cool.
That's kind of like the. I'm like, if I do them in my style, hopefully enough times they'll be like, but what is your style?
But
what is that? And I'll be like, well, let me show you.
Right. Favorite? Well, I've already asked your favorite venue you played. Artists you'd like to play a show with someday, live or dead? Anybody? Yeah.
Oh.
Karen and.
Alive or dead?
Well, I don't ever know if I should say that, but
like that's so hard.
it's a little morbid that way.
I'm like, it's like all the things.
Opens
I'm like,
a lot
I want
of doors.
categories.
Right.
I'm like, let me take an artist and
play
then
an artist
and
live.
also a
We'll do
band.
live artists with you.
Okay, live artist. Bruno Mars.
Bruno. Oh my goodness, that would be so
Duh.
fun.
Well, wait,
So
duh.
fun.
I don't even know why I questioned
I wonder if he has that energy backstage.
Oh my gosh.
I want to know,
completely.
does that dude,
I bet
does he turn
anything.
off?
I
You
just
know
want
what
to
I mean?
hang out with him. I just want
Totally.
it because like every interview he's in, honestly, like watching his interviews has made me kind of change my own perspective on a lot of things in terms of just gratitude.
Yep.
I know that sounds weird, but it's like when you start to think of things like I get to do this,
Yes.
I get to do that. Like last weekend I was like, oh, I get to play 5 gigs in 72 hours. Hooray!
Hooray!
Who has coffee for me?
Right. Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't cry.
I'm okay. I'm fine. It's fine. Put your lashes on. You're fine.
Well, and what's funny, I've seen that with Bruno Mars, and then also no one, people want to hate on him, but Justin Bieber, it's the same thing. Those dudes' work ethic, like,
Right.
unfortunately, you can't be a pop star at that level
Right.
and not be working 18, 20-hour days.
Right.
And it doesn't make any sense, but you know what I mean? They're just
Putting the time in.
they're freaks. You know what I mean? And
Totally.
you talk about
Totally.
Bruno interviews. I've seen stuff from him as like a little kid.
Right.
And I mean, he was
Right. He used to be an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah. Oh, and those
So
videos are
cute.
crazy.
Oh my gosh.
And
so
he wasn't
talented.
like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, like he's okay, he's trying. It was like, no, like he really is talented. He's really putting people out of business.
Totally.
So
Well, and what's great too, I think, is like the support team that he has behind him, because it's like you see so many people with like sort of like I don't want to say like group like entourage kind of or
Right.
whatever, but like his team is like a family.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And it's not like any one of them gets like singled out for any particular reason, but they like it's like a unit, and I think that's awesome.
and when you have people to keep you grounded, you know what I mean? That,
Completely.
you know what I mean? That really, when you find out who your friends are, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That really
No,
you find out
totally.
what kind of music you're gonna do.
Totally.
And then last one? What are you watching or listening to right now? You got any movies, TV shows, anything?
Okay, so I have guilty pleasure for TV shows. I watch a lot of those like reality competition type of shows.
Yeah.
Like I love MasterChef. I love MasterChef.
Yes. Okay, I like that.
I love anything on HGTV, even though I don't own a home, so that's
Right, well.
not logical, but whatever.
I can't watch HGTV because I will be in my backyard digging something up
I
or
love
like
those like
reading.
tiny home shows.
Yes.
I don't know
Oh,
why,
they're
but
great.
I'm like,
Yeah.
the idea of like putting all my things in this tiny home, which is not logical, because if you came in my house, you'd laugh hysterically, like, oh, you're not gonna fit this in a small house.
You're not doing that.
Maybe just your dogs, but
Right.
I love it. I don't know. And then
Yeah.
also I've been watching World of Dance.
Yes, nice.
I love
like that.
Jennifer Lopez.
Yes, yes.
I
Well,
love her. Oh, she's 50. She looks
She
amazing.
looks, I
Goals.
feel horrible for, but yeah, that was the first thing I was going to go to. Is like she still looks.
No, she.
22.
I
like,
honestly, I feel like she's getting better. Like every single year, I'm like, God willing, that will be me.
Right.
Like, please.
Well, even when you see Mariah Carey, like those humans don't look any different than when they did whenever I was a
these
kid.
divas are doing good.
Yeah,
They're doing okay.
they're drinking good water and they're staying
yeah,
clean.
they're staying hydrated, getting their rest.
That's crazy.
Probably doing yoga or something. You know,
Yeah.
healthy things.
Well, so now what about any movies? Any movies? Anything? Any movie person?
That I watch movies like when I'm sick. usually.
Yes.
Or I don't know. I recently just saw Crazy Rich Asians.
Was that good?
It was so good. I
Yeah?
mean,
Yeah.
I'm probably biased, but you know, I was just like totally floored by like the entire production was like so amazing.
Really?
And then I also like the soundtrack was like, oh my God, I love this. And then I didn't realize that like
Did you? Oh, go ahead.
my whole life I have never like seen like Asian Americans in a role like that's
Right.
not like a hairdresser, a ninja, like a nail person, like a prostitute. I don't know.
So I got to ask you, did you hear the story about the soundtrack? About Coldplay?
About Coldplay, yeah.
And how they got the letter that they wrote, Chris
Yeah.
Martin?
Oh, totally.
That is like... I
I reposted that on
chills.
my Facebook when I was like, I just saw this movie. I just read this letter. Like I've not stopped crying.
I'm not joking. I have chills.
No, seriously. Like
it was just
crying.
like...
Well, I started re-looking at that and I realized myself, and like, I'm not going to cry because I've already talked about this like 50,000 times. But I feel like for me, you know, being an Asian American, I'm Irish, so I'm Chinese and Irish. And like moving to Arizona was a huge culture shock for me coming from New York because I was like, where are my people?
Right. Yep, definitely.
Instantly.
Yep.
And I'm not Filipino, although I love Filipino people, but they always think that I'm Filipino because I'm really tan.
You're tan. Yeah, that's
But
funny.
I'm not. But I'm like, yeah, please take me. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
You know, but I think after reading that letter, I kind of realized in myself that I had sort of developed like like in my mind, like yellow is not a good color.
Right. Interesting.
Like can't be doing that. Like no. And then I realized I'm like, because I have like yellow clothing that I like never wear. And like stuff like that, and like people, and like I've been very like triggered by those things before, and I like never even like it didn't occur to me, you know what I mean?
Well,
and then it was like when I saw the movie, and I saw the movie before I read the letter,
right?
And then I felt all types of feels like when it came in, when the song came. I mean, I'm not kidding you, I was ugly crying in this theater, but I mean, like everyone was ugly crying, so I was like, okay.
I'm gonna make my wife watch this tonight. I gotta see this.
No, seriously, ugly crying, like oh. Anyway, and then I read the letter, and then I went back to ugly crying because I was like, that's exactly like I couldn't place. Right. Like what I was feeling until
Just
I read it.
For,
and I was like,
for the people listening,
you know.
the letter was to Chris Martin.
It was from the director, John Chu. And then he was basically like, hey, you know, I know that you guys get tons of requests to use your music all the time because originally they rejected the request.
Right. It sounds like Coldplay doesn't really allow people to take their stuff.
Coldplay was like, no, you don't. Exactly.
They
were
make
like,
enough
this
money.
is our thing. Yeah, they're Taylor Swift and they don't need you.
I don't need. Yeah.
But he sent them this letter basically about how Coldplay's Yellow was the first time that he had really seen the beauty in the color. You know what I mean? And then like
as an Asian American, they'd have been called yellow.
Right,
and
exactly. And it was a way for them to kind of take that and take it back and really show the beauty in it and show, you know, that all colors are beautiful.
Yeah.
And like it's like I'm like, well, I'm feeling like a type of way
Totally,
again. But like,
totally. I was reading the letter in bed the other night, and you're just like, oh my gosh!
We all know the song because it's like, duh, it's Yellow, it's Coldplay. But it's like I honestly, I'm a singer, and like I went back to rearrange the song myself because I was like, now I need to put my hands on this.
Now, yep.
And you know, I'm like, I need to touch its heart. And I'm going through and I'm looking at the lyrics and I'm like, this song is beautiful.
Yeah, totally.
Like I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like
I love it.
So good.
Karen,
but
thank you so much for hanging.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you
for having me.
Please come back. Let's do it again. Let's do.
Yeah.
Shoot, make sure whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on iTunes, you hit subscribe. Look Karen up. She's a great person, and she just got great music coming, and just great energy, great person to be around, and I really appreciate you hanging.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I play all over the valley, so if you're literally whatever city you live in, I'll be there.
Yep, look up Karen O. She's around. I mean, you could be at dinner tomorrow night after watching this podcast and look up and see that Karen is there playing music.
I will be actually.
She's everywhere. Yeah, she'll be tomorrow night.
Literally, I will be.
We'll see you there. Proud to present playlist on Spotify. If you're jamming on Spotify, you've heard some of our artists. Get on there. Karen songs will be on there as soon as those songs are released. We'll throw them up on there. Shoot, we're over like 60 songs now of just artists. We put 3 songs on per artist. And,
so cool.
And I mean, you could jam all day. And I jam it a lot myself. You know what I mean? Because I hang out with these artists, and I love all these artists. I just feel like are like mine now. You know, I just love
the collective.
Yeah, I just I love pushing people up. So. And then in closing, as we say every week, be the change in your life, be the change in your community. You can spew hate, you can boycott, you can do whatever you want to try to cause more division. But ultimately, we're all on the same team, and the faster you figure that out, the faster I figure that out, the faster quality of life just skyrockets. So please be the change in your community. Do something to love somebody today, and shoot, throw it in the comments. Let us know what you do. We love it.
I love that.
So yes. So have a great week, y'all. We love you.